Alright, I've tried to do this twice. I don't even know if anybody can hear me. We're going to pick this up again and retry again on a different channel. So far I've taken 2 spikes out of Quantico and 1 major spike out of somewhere in North Dakota, shutting down my stream as we ran this. And then suddenly my computer, without asking me, decided it wanted to do 61 updates. And all the updates were 0 bytes, but they caused my computer to reboot itself, completely shutting down the entire thing that I was trying to do. This from Skipper Spees out at Bundy Ranch over the Gold Butte takeover the federal government is doing out there. So censorship is now in full force because this was obviously contrived from the outside. You know, I mean, no computer does 31 updates and all the updates are 31 bits, but force a reboot in which your computer just blanks out and doesn't ask you, period. So we're going to try this again. I tried this 3 times and it would get about halfway in and then just the whole page would just die, or the whole video would die, or the Google page would just blink, go away. So apparently this is important, so I'm going to keep doing this until I get it through.
Hey Facebook, how's it going? It's Skipper. Yes, I'm back on Facebook and still on Facebook. I haven't got thrown back in jail yet. So yeah, cross my fingers and hopefully I don't get reported for stupid stuff that I didn't actually do. But anyway, we're here at the Bundy Ranch. I got Josh Martinez here. I got Brand Thornton here. And we're going to do a little roundtable discussion about this so-called national monument for Gold Butte. There's a lot of details that the federal government is not presenting forth, for people to see. So we're going to open up the light on that situation. And so I'm going to turn the camera over to Joshua and let him give an introduction and hear from his thoughts on the current situation.
How y'all doing? Joshua Martinez here. Here at the Bundy Ranch. We're trying to get some clarification on Obama's proclamation over these lands. There's too many gray areas. There's too many things that have not been answered. I'm sure that some of you are arguing with each other, trying to figure these things out. We're working on it. We're just as confused as you are. We need all the minds to come together to figure these things out. Also, to learn what the BLM and President Obama is really trying to do. Is this a management issue? Is this a land grab? Those are the things we're trying to bring to light. Now, we've seen what the federal government has done to the Bundys. They've bullied them. They've tried to seize property from them. So we are kind of seeing how things are unfolding and the way this administration has been acting. And it's obviously a land grab. They're trying to overstep their boundaries, trying to grab more land for their benefits. We're trying to figure out why, but right now is the time where we need to make that stand and say no. Now the government has to stay within these boundaries. We're getting lazy, we're getting complacent, we're arguing over things that do not matter. Right now we need a meeting of the minds. We need people to come out, see what's going on, look at this land. Does it really look like it needs to be managed? Does it really look like it needs to be federally protected?
And let me give you a span view of some of the land. I mean, this is just a little bit of it. And this road right here, this is Gold Butte Road.
Right.
3 miles that direction is the intersection for Riverside Drive, aka 170, and 3 miles that way is the I-15. So right at the end of this road over here, at the beginning of this road, there's a sign that says Gold Butte is 36 miles?
36 miles.
36 miles that direction, following this road. So Gold Butte originally doesn't start until 36 miles that way. And so that's another argument of the boundaries that they're trying to say where Gold Butte is.
Well, they've at least tried to double the original Gold Butte. Now imagine that. But go ahead.
Okay, so right now, just like Skipper said, they have certain lands, and see, this is what we're trying to figure out before I continue on and go and digress to other subjects. what we're trying to figure out is what land are they taking? How are they going to enforce their little rules? What's going to happen with the Bundys? What's going to happen with their water rights? And I've said this plenty of times. If you have no property, you have no rights. What the government is doing right now is they're trying to seize property, control it themselves, and then the Bundys have no rights to it. What we want to do is, it's not only about ranchers, people who want to camp, people who want to hike, people who want to bike. We're all in this together. You guys stop thinking, well, it has nothing to do with me. I'm not a rancher. I don't have cattle. But you know what? I understand the principle of liberty. That is why I'm here. I'm making a stand because this is where the fight is. This is where we have to make our stand. If you just let it go by and not do anything about it, they're just going to get this document and just throw it right away.
Yes, they will.
So what I'm trying to get people to do is come out here, take a look at what's really going on. Question the government. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Call them up. Ask them, why are they picking on the Bundys? Why do they want this land so bad? Ask them. Don't be afraid. And I'll have Brand Thornton right here take over. You got anything to add?
Well, yeah, this is Brand Thornton here. You hit upon something that is, you know, a couple things that is really interesting. One is, this thing is so open-ended. There is, at this point in time, there is no different boundaries to this new monument, which I don't consider monument. We don't consider monument private property for the most part. But there's no boundaries. The original Gold Butte starts like 30 miles down there. Well, the new Gold Butte is going to take in all that, and it's going to go all the way to Bunkerville. How far away is Bunkerville from here?
The actual town is probably about maybe 10 miles.
10 miles. Then, okay, so now you've got, and then you got the state line Arizona there. And how far west is this going to go?
Yeah, that we don't know.
We don't know.
Because Gold Butte, technically, see that ridge right over there, on the other side of that ridge is I-15. So technically Gold Butte is not even over that way. But if they want to keep focusing on the Bundy cattle as their main perspective, we've seen their open range cattle on that side of 15 too. Yeah. And you know, to get even more technical, there's another rancher on the Arizona line, which is about, I want to say 15 plus maybe 20 miles that way is the Arizona line, you know, going, you know, to I-15, and then you get a little bit further St. George, but that's a different story.
So the people, you're getting a pretty good idea of the demographics that we're talking about here. And this thing is open-ended. And so what are they going to do? Where are they going to draw these boundary lines? Because it doesn't exist at this time. But they've pretty much doubled everything. All right. So if you go to the original Gold Butte, which they show in all the pictures, not all of them, they fake some of them, but that's where the artifacts are. But they're not telling the people that. Okay. So what it looks like this is designed, at least from my perspective, is designed to do is to take the Bundy Ranch, take their water rights, take their land rights. To me, that's what the whole target is really all about. And not just from my perspective, but from many other people's perspectives. Now, I want to run something by all the people who are out there. Wouldn't it be wonderful if people could just come out here from time to time, whenever you have free time, bring your cameras and just take pictures of things and post them on Facebook and look for any suspicious movements so that we can monitor what's happening out here on a regular basis. To me, that's very, very important. Now, today, we've decided basically not to exercise our Second Amendment rights, but you all have that right. If you want to come out here and exercise your Second Amendment rights, that is your right. But I think it's really important that we get people to volunteer on their time off, take an afternoon, come riding out here, drive around these roads, and take pictures of anything especially suspicious that you can see. Now, while driving in here today, there's a lot of people in these hills right now, more than I actually expected. All right, I think they have the same ideas that I have. You know, let's kind of watch what's going on here. Let's monitor it. If we see anything suspicious, we're going to put it on social media for everybody to see. Okay.
And let me add to that too. You know, through this entire area, especially back here, you can see the mountains way in the back. There are so many off-road trails towards Whitney Pockets, which is about 18 miles this way. There's campsites, and so this national monument is going to put a stop to all that, to off-roading, to camping, to hiking, to hunting. A lot of hunters come out here, especially fowl season, ducks, geese, and there's deer, just all kinds of stuff out here.
That's one of the things that the next thing I was actually going to talk about. Hang on a second. We got a couple of vehicles driving by us here, and there are people just like us, concerned with what's going on.
And these people, enjoy this area. These people are not from here, and they're out here just enjoy the public lands. This is not federal property. This is public lands, belongs to the people of state of Nevada.
Well, I grew up here. Okay, I'm just a few miles down the road. I've been hunting here. I used to come here with my father to go quail hunting, dove hunting as a child, as a young man. Down the road is the Lake Mead. I've been fishing there. I actually drew a deer tag in 2014 up in these mountains right here, which is, that's actually those mountains, those snow-covered peaks that we were looking at. You want to show that again right there? That area right there is the only part of the Arizona Strip that is in the state of Nevada. And just in 2014, I drew a deer tag there. So you can see, I can personalize this very much. Here we got another vehicle. See, there's a lot of people out here today, off-roaders.
More people.
Sightseers. People that just...
He had a real estate sign on the back of his car.
People are coming out here to, just by their presence, trying to say, hey, you know what? This is our land. This is not the federal government's land. We control it. This is where we live. We control this.
I see a couple of my duck hunters that come out here are watching this. You guys should be infuriated too. If this happens, you guys can't come duck hunting out here and goose hunting no more.
Exactly. And this is great duck hunting along the Virgin River. I have hiked it. My oldest son has hiked it and walked it and jump shooting ducks. So this is very, very personal to me. It's very personal to my family. And all this is going to be lost to this land grab, this monument that they're trying to put in. But the people that are going to suffer the most are these people right here. They've been here, since 1873, I believe it was?
Sometime in the late 1800s, their family generations have been out here.
Yeah.
So...
Now, can you imagine generation after generation after generation, this has been their home. This has been their livelihood. I mean, there's so many memories here with their family, their children and their grandchildren. And then also, going back to their ancestors, their grandparents, great-grandparents. There's so much history here. I want to point out this mountain range over here that you see way in the background. Those are the Mormon Mountains. Those are the Mormon Mountains. And if you come down, you see this mesa, and you follow the way over to the right. That is the Mormon Mesa. All right?
Barely see it, but right there.
Now, I bring that out to let you know, this was settled by the Mormon pioneers a long, long time ago. And Southern Nevada's got a lot of Mormons. Southern Utah's got a lot of Mormons. The Bundys are Mormons, okay? This is their culture, all right?
Speaking of culture, again, Bunkerville and Mesquite are that way. Bunkerville was established in 1897, and there's an old Mormon school and some early establishments that are still there to this day that are considered historic landmarks and everything. Vegas was founded by Mormons through the Mormon Battalion going down to California, and Vegas is about 76 miles that direction, and so is Lake Mead. So everything is really close range and tied in together.
Well, my great uncle was the bishop of Bunkerville at one time. So there's this tremendous heritage here. Now you have Obama, which is, now we know I've known this for a while, he's not even American, he's born in Africa. But then on top of it, he's all the way on the eastern part of the United States. They're trying to rule this country, or rule this land, legislate us out of his existence from 3,000 miles away. They have no idea. Plus, they don't care what's going on. They could care less about people's lives. And what is he trying to do? Is constantly introducing another element, the Muslim element. And I'm not trying to be racist here, but this heritage, these type of heritages, which are just as precious as any other heritage, is ultimately going to be destroyed if we don't stand up and we don't do something.
We got a question. Vicky Barrios, if I butchered your last name, I'm sorry. She's asking, what are the risks of doing so? Are you asking the federal government stealing this land for their benefits? Or is that what you're asking, Vicky? So we'll wait till you go ahead and continue until she responds back.
Okay, now what we have, some of the things that we have discovered since 2014 at these hills are full of precious metals. We also know that there's water here, and these water rights are extremely valuable, and they're coveted by the elitists of this world. We know Harry Reid owns a lot of this property around here, which he's gotten through nefarious means. We know that he was, him and his son, Rory Reid, were doing a deal with the Chinese, I think is EEN, and which we pretty much squashed that in 2014. But there was a $5 billion deal in these hands for solar energy in these lands. Now, I don't know if anybody's gone and seen solar energy, but to me, it's about the most ugly thing I've ever seen in my life. You want to see something ugly?
If you come up from Vegas to here, you'll see it better going back down to 15 southbound, and on the west side over by Moapa Valley, and they're doing this huge solar farm to do away with the coal plant. But what's happening, the solar cannot keep up with the coal plant, so they got to keep expanding, and they're just taking up more empty land than what they're wanting to do out here technically. See, look at that. Camping
Utah.
and off-roading. People from Utah. Yep, some more people enjoying the public lands. You know, some more off-roaders, campers. See, it's not just affecting the cattle ranch, but even though they've been here forever, I mean, it's affecting all of us.
And Cliven's always been a good steward of this land. You know, he's the one, him and his family have developed literally hundreds of water sources in these mountains and springs that feeds the local flora and fauna. You know, these hills, now when we were just walking up here, we had a covey of quail that we split up. Some went that direction, some went that direction. There's all kinds of doves here, okay? Well, if you go up in those hills, you got their natural springs, which Cliven has developed over a period of time. And you have, yeah, if you look, and they're very bare and they're very dry. Now, if you take the water out of those hills, you're going to take the animals that depend upon it. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of predators, but you got coyotes, you got mountain lions, then you got deer, you got elk. There's elk that come down this far, and you have desert bighorn sheep.
Believe it or not, there's raccoons out here.
Oh yeah, I remember when we got invaded by one 2014 in our camp down there at the demonstration area. The boys from Montana remember that because he dropped in the middle of the night, this raccoon gets up there, grabs the pizza out of the pizza box and drops the pizza box on the guy's head that was sleeping right there. And he jumped out the screen, and we were like, what was that? And somebody grabs a flashlight, and here's a raccoon running away with the big slice of pizza.
Skunks.
So,
you know, it's good that you went over those things with the water rights, the mineral rights, the land rights. There's another vehicle coming up, but there's a reason why our government didn't want, or why our founding fathers didn't want government taking over those things, because they knew they would rip them out of the hands of the people who rightfully should have control over it and use it for their own personal benefits. Harry Reid has interest in these lands, and then you go see who he has business with, and you start to open up the book. You start seeing, is this how it's going to unfold? They said they didn't want the land. They don't want it. They just want to maintain it. Then when you allow them to do that, they step their foot in the door. Then they go and they take more. You give them an inch, they'll take a yard. You let them take a yard, they will take a mile. Our job, our duty as citizens, is to ask them more questions before you start invading, because this is what it is. It's an invasion. It's an invasion. They're depriving us of property. You have to ask them, what do you want with these lands? Why? How are you going to enforce these rules? If you enforce them, what's the punishment that comes with it?
Right there on that thing, you said, what's the punishment? Before I forget, Vicky responded saying, what can happen if we do defend these lands? And I mean, as we can see, you know, we have people that already been arrested on wrongful charges and everything. I mean, so there's that risk factor. And you know, I am willing, you know, to take that risk. Are you willing to take that risk?
Oh yes.
Are you willing to take that risk?
Absolutely.
You know, so that is what we are supposed to be.
This is the first step, what we're doing right now. You know, we want to take these first steps, which are peaceful. And I want to emphasize that. However, there is a line somewhere, actually pretty much an undefined line, where you cannot allow them to cross. And you know, we're quickly approaching that line. Okay, now what does it say in the Declaration of Independence? As long as abuses are sufferable, the people, you know, rather than change, they will suffer those abuses to a certain point. Because when they become unsufferable, then all of a sudden it's got to stop. And I wanted to ask you a question. Now, all those waterworks,
all the water rights that they have?
No, the waterworks that Cliven did and his family over 100 years that they pulled out and they destroyed, have those been restored?
Well, you know, you got actually this area where the open range is more than 600,000 acres of land. And where the water rights and the water spots are at, I think I've seen maybe 13, and that's not all of them. One of the biggest issues in that general direction, there's a road that leads to Devil's Throat, which also is the back door to Lake Mead. BLM tore, you know, miles of water lines, because you can't see it because of this hill right here, but the mountains, and you know, these, you know, starting right here with this set of mountains, you know, there's a whole bunch more that are all back here, and the water comes from the mountains. And so there's water pockets throughout the area that the Bundys have water rights to, and water rights are pretty much technically, you know, by law considered, you know, private property, and they have paperwork and deeds showing the markers for these water rights all throughout this area. And this new Gold Butte boundaries, if you know, they're trying to claim, you know, wrongfully, but it crosses over all these water rights. Well, and so there's so many water troughs that have been here. Cliven showed me one on top of a hill that's been here since the late 1800s. That's on top of one of the hilltops, and that's how long these water spots have been here.
Well, in 2014, when the caravan was coming out of these hills, the BLM caravan, there were 13 vehicles. There was a rendering truck. Is that what it's called? A rendering truck. They had a backhoe, a front loader, and that truck, that big truck, was full of these pipes and different tanks and things like that that were used to establish these water sources. Now, think about how many animals, you know, everybody's talking about how important water is, like DAPL, and its life. Yes, it is life. How many animals died of thirst when they ripped those out? Because you had viable populations of, like I said, elk, bighorn sheep, deer, and all your upland game. But more than that, it has endangered species of flycatchers which are up here. What happened to those animals? All right, you people out there that think this is such a good thing, think in your brain, what happened to those animals? Not talking about the calves that were left out there to die. All right, that was a mass genocide on the local flora and fauna of this range of miles and miles and miles. I want you to consider that.
Now, he brought up a good point. If some of you think that that is a good idea, look at other things that the government has taken control of. Out here, people in Nevada, there was a brothel called the Mustang Ranch. The governments went, seized the property, IRS took it over, they ran it into the ground. Anything the government touches turns to mush.
They can't even run a whorehouse.
They couldn't provide booze and hookers to truckers in the desert, and now we want them to manage other land, more land. You got to ask yourself, who has rights? Who has privileges? Once you start figuring that out, do we have the authority, since we have the power and we grant them certain powers? Do we have the authority to revoke that? If they can give us privileges, grant us licenses, and can revoke them at any time, can we do the same? Now, when you find that answer out, question yourself, how's the best way to go about it? We obviously want to do it peacefully. Right. Lavoie always said, don't be like your enemy, don't hate on your enemy, pray for your enemy. Be humble, be respectful. Let them know that you're aware of the laws, you're aware of your rights, and that you know it doesn't come from this document. This document just clarifies it. That's what we need. We need more minds out here to help stand with this family. Even though it's not you affecting you directly, it can come to your doorstep one of these days.
Now let me You mentioned brothels and control, management and everything.
Yeah.
In Nye County, there was a brothel that was seized by the federal government because of tax invasion. Right. The federal government tried to continue to run that brothel.
Can you imagine that?
To regain the money that was lost in tax evasion, and they couldn't do it.
They ran into the ground.
They could not, maintain a brothel run by the federal government. So what do you expect is going to happen to land that manages itself?
Or healthcare.
Healthcare.
Yeah, they want to manage healthcare. They want to tell us the more and more things we allow them to enter. They want to regulate private human behavior. They want to legislate morality. They want to tell us where we can camp, where we can't, where we can hunt, where we can't hunt. Those things are it's all about control. We have to start being aware of where we're at, know the situation that's going on, reach out to your neighbors. Let's all just start holding each other, come out and make a stand and say no more, because we've drawn the line plenty of times. We've compromised many of times, but they just keep stepping over that line, and now our back is to the corner. Now the Bundy's back is to the corner. What are you gonna do out there?
And this is happening all over the West too.
All over. Yes. Government in history of humanity, in human history, government has proven that if they get too much power, the country falls. Too much power is bad. When the people have the power, there is good. So I'm just trying to encourage more and more people to...
Check this out. I got a friend in New Zealand. He says that some reason the video will not play for him. But he's able to comment on it.
Well,
that's interesting.
A long ways
press
away.
play.
Well, the gal earlier was talking how we're going to defend it. And I said this is the first step in defending it. But I want everybody to participate in that first defense. All you got to do is come out. Put it on Facebook. I'm going to be out there on this day, and that way we won't get 100 people out here on one day, and nobody the next day. But put it out there. I'm going to go out there. I'm taking my camera. I'm going to observe. I'm going to be an observer. And I'm going to monitor. And let's do this. I mean, St. George is not very far away. All right. Cedar City is not very far away. Las Vegas is not very far away. There's a lot of other reasons to be out here. You can take in this beauty. Just sightsee if nothing else. Bring your camera. And if you see suspicious activity in the farm, and I'm going to say it, BLM vehicles, government vehicles, get them on video, get camera, get pictures of them, put it on. They can't stand the light of day. They just can't stand the light of day, believe me. And if you can get their personal pictures of their faces, that's even better. Put it on Facebook, put it on social media. Say, hey, these guys are out there, they're doing suspicious things. That is the first step. And we don't ever want to get to the point where we have to use firearms. We don't want to get to the point where we have to exercise the Second Amendment rights.
Exactly.
Any other?
Well, I just want to clarify where the government is allowed to own. Here in Article 1, to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square as made by cession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. That is their limitation. Our founding fathers knew that government will try their best to take control over certain things, and that's why they wrote this down and said, no, we have to limit them. They obviously don't care about that part. They want to make more land theirs. Let's put them in check. Stop sitting around, stop playing Xbox, stop secting, start getting up and make a stand. Read this. It took me 20 minutes to read. Learn it, and then hold them accountable, because you have that right. We are their masters. We tell them what to do. Don't be afraid.
We got another vehicle coming. They're pretty loud, and I know how that drowns out what we're saying, so we'll wait till they pass. And I want to follow up on what he just said there. Well, getting back to Clark County. Clark County originally was not part of Nevada, and actually takes in part of White Pine County. It was originally a part of the Arizona Territory. And so far, nobody really seems to know why Congress in that land transaction of 1866 decided to give it to the state of Nevada out of the Arizona territory. But I'm pretty sure from my research it was to give more water to the state of Nevada, because these are supposed to be sovereign lands. Okay, without water you don't have anything. Well, it's a very unique situation, and how the state of Nevada and Clark County got its sovereignty, and it's never been challenged in court. So, and then when you get into the specifics of it, Clark County is a total sovereign county that was transferred in a land transaction in 1866 from the Arizona territory. And in there, it basically says that the federal government has no jurisdiction over any whatsoever over Clark County, Nevada. How are we doing on questions there?
Yeah, so a lot of people are commenting with support and everything. So does anybody have any questions or anything that you want discussed? While we're here, I mean, we got 90 some viewers right now. Bailey shared it on the Bundy Ranch page. A bunch of people have shared it. Someone from Anthony from New York has shared it. So I mean, we got Lynn from Newport, Oregon on here. So we got a wide spread.
Well, let me follow up on one other thing, people, on which I want you to consider. This interpretation of the property clause in the Constitution of the United States, which has only come to pass in the last 4 decades. You have 200 years of precedents in 38 states that gained their sovereignty in a very specific way. So you have this new interpretation, which revolves around the word dispose of in the property clause of the Constitution of the United States. Now, could you imagine if it was just the opposite for 200 years in 38 states? That would mean that the United States government owned 100% of America. 100%. There would be no private property. Unbelievable. See, I don't know why some people don't look at it like that. Now, here's what's happening in some of these western states. They can't expand their economies. So if you can't expand your economies, you don't have jobs. Now, let me back up. You don't have industry. You don't have jobs. You've got to have your natural resources. You've got to have your natural resources. If you don't have your natural resources, you're going to be living to the millennials. You're forever going to be living in your mother's basement. All right?
Anthony's got a really good question. He said, where are you at, Anthony? Anthony says, what can we do, us that are so far away from you? What do you need us to do? My answer is education. Anybody that's watched G.I. Joe, there's that saying, knowing is half the battle. That's why we're doing this video, to spread education, to get more and more people to know what's going on, and to see what we're talking about, and to get to a little bit of FaceTime value of where we're actually at and what's really going on.
Yeah. So here we are in this position. We got a new president. It's going to take office in January 20th. He has made certain statements which are really good. We're glad to hear them. That he's going to come out and he's going to assist the ranchers in the West. All right. He's going to help us get our natural resources back, so that the young people in the future can actually have a life. Because the way things are going, they're not going to have a life. They're also cutting off our food supply. What did Henry Kissinger say? Okay, you want to control the people, you control the food. We got all this water here, and I think that's the next objective by this government. I think that's what DAPL was all about, because more and more, I mean, for example, I forget how much in Michigan there, I think it was Lake Erie or Lake Superior, water has been sold to China. See, so all of this land, all of this water is becoming more and more precious. Why? Because they are destroying the water. They're getting the water rights to it. DAPL, what would happen? I think there's 6 million people, over 6 million people downriver there. What if they contaminated that water where you couldn't drink it, like what happened in Detroit, Michigan there? All right? What was the name of that place?
Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. Okay?
To this day, they still have tainted water.
Exactly. So now the value or the price of water
hold
goes
on.
through the roof.
Bailey wants everybody to know to call Attorney General Adam Laxall. So call.
And that's really important, because he is the attorney that told the BLM, you have, and he's a state attorney, you have no law enforcement authority in Clark County, Nevada. Not to mention that Sheriff Tom Roberts is the one that basically told the BLM to leave, because the sheriff has that authority. Not to mention that Governor Sandoval told the BLM to leave. Not to mention that their boss, the Department of Agriculture, sent them a 5-page letter directly to Dan P. Love telling him, you are breaking the law, you have no authority there, and leave. That's how amazing this is. And now, you know what? Here comes Obama-nite, and he decides he's going to take all this for what? It's for his elitist friends, so they can come in here through the back door and steal these minerals and spoil this land. The same thing they're doing up there in Harney County on the Dwight Hammond Ranch with Hillary Clinton's bunch, Uranium One, and they're going to spoil that country. They just, you know, uranium is the most toxic thing that you can mine. All right, that was an international corporation. Do you really think they're going to reclaim that land? They're going to spoil the surface water. They're going to spoil the groundwater, not to mention the air. That's the same thing they're ultimately going to do here. And everybody's worried about this monument or the Native American artifacts and things. Oh my gosh, that'll all be locked up. You'll never get a chance to see it, and it's all going to be spoiled. You people out there, you millennials, you liberals, you need to grow a brain and realize what's actually going on. Okay, I vented.
Well, I just wanted to remind people.
Hold on. Adam, how you say his last name?
Laxalt.
Adam Laxalt, Attorney General. His phone number is 702-486-3132. I'm gonna give him a call. 702-486-3132. Call.
Just want to remind people, stay educated, read the Constitution, see what the government, how they've been acting, and ask yourself, is it really in respects to the Constitution? Are they really honoring that oath? You've seen what happened to the Hammonds. Due process and double jeopardy was violated. We need to hold everyone accountable, because just because we're not from Oregon, we had fellas from Oregon or from Nevada go over there. Doesn't matter what state you're in. We all are in this together.
You know that saying, help our neighbor.
Right.
Our neighbor doesn't mean, like you live here and you live here. You know, it doesn't stop there. Right. Our neighbor, we're one nation. Okay. So when our neighbor in Oregon needs help, we should go help if we can. And that's how far.
Wherever the fight for liberty is, go. Liberty has no jurisdiction. Liberty doesn't recognize state lines. We create those things. But you know what? We all have that one thing in common: the thirst for liberty, the pursuit of happiness. This is the pursuit of happiness right here with these brothers right here. This is happiness to me. Being here, supporting them, is happiness to me. I have a right to be here. Wherever my 2 feet are, that's a free speech zone. I can say whatever I want, whenever I want, and no one can limit me. I invite you to come and enjoy this. Come and enjoy this happiness.
I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, you hear that?
Those are geese.
No, that's quail. Well, in
The
2014, you see that in Mormon Mesa out there? There were snipers out there. You can't see these hills just to the north of us. There were snipers there in 2014.
I don't know if you can see it right there. As 170 comes across. There's a bridge that this little hill's blocking, and the road continues. Also, it's called Riverside Drive. It continues and it turns, and then it heads north. Probably a mile or two after it curves is where the snipers were sitting down pointing at the roadway. Bailey got pictures of the snipers coming out. That's where Dave Bundy was kidnapped. There's like a bunch of confrontation, and a little bit at the end of this road at the beginning is where the video where Amnon got tased and Margaret got thrown down on the ground, where the truckloads were coming from out here and heading this way. And way over there, there's a semi that's heading south. So northbound, that's exit marker 112, and you go to mile marker 115 on the west side is where the BLM had their staging area. So just give you kind of a perspective, how things were laid out.
Well, in the day that we jumped the BLM coming out of these hills, they vamoosed. If anybody's ever seen Pete Santilli's video, well, a lot of them come up this road here. I don't know how many miles, but eventually there was 200 vehicles stacked, 200 federal vehicles, BLM, Forestry Department, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, 200 vehicles came down this road itching for a fight. But guess what? Channel 8 and Channel 13 News got there before them, all right? And they had to back down. They couldn't go and just kill all of us because it would have been on mainstream media. They had to back down. So this is amazing stuff here. It really is. Go ahead.
Real quick, Bailey wanted me to remind everybody this Saturday, December 31st, according to the event page, just right over here, Gold Butte Road and the Riverside Inn. It's a little, it looks like a ghost town. There's a bridge right over there. We're having a rally about, so you know what's going on out here. It starts at 9 o'clock. And you know, so spread the word. I posted some information on it on my Facebook page, so check it out and come out there this Saturday.
And you know, Cliven's been great about, you know, after the anniversary, we had that big party there. There was hundreds and hundreds of people here that are swimming in the river. We had some great barbecues. We had great entertainment. This land is everybody's land. We understand that, okay? Yeah, I can personalize it because I grew up in this area. I've hiked these hills, I've hunted these hills, so I can personalize, but it's everybody's land. It's multiple use. So that's what we want to do, is we want to keep it multiple use for everybody. When that monument goes in, no more hiking, no more fishing, no more hunting, no more camping, no more off-roading, no more sightseeing, basically.
You would have to stay on this road. This is going to be your limits. That goes all the way through. You know, so that's going to be it. It's going to be like, you know, you can't even pick up rocks right there. You got to stick to this road.
Oh yeah, they get really anal about, oh, you know, if you pick something up, you think it's a pretty rock, you better not take it home or at least get caught taking it home. If you get caught taking it home, you're in some serious trouble, you know. And when they get into this artifacts thing, I want to show you guys something. You know, this is not an artifact, okay? But let me tell you something about
That's my soda can. I will throw it away.
I do. I'm giving him a guilt trip. Let's bury it right here. Okay, let's put it in some sort of protective, and let's bury it there. Okay? In 200 years, people, this becomes an artifact. Do you see what I'm getting at? Everywhere there's artifact. There isn't 1 square inch of this land. It is not an artifact by the government's definition when you get right down to it. They have so much leeway to determine what is a cultural artifact.